News Radio 840 WHAS coming up on this last Sunday in August 2025. We've got scammers everywhere, and we've got questions from listeners who are getting letters and emails offering everything from a new roof to protection from an IRS lien. We'll give you the scoop on what to do. Also, we've talked about clogged drains in the past, right? But other alternatives to Drano. We'll hopefully have an answer for you. And we've got at least 11 things you should never do during bad weather or a hurricane. Hi, everybody. Bob Sokoler, owner of the Sokoler team at RE/MAX Properties East. Thank you for joining us on this last Sunday of August. Who could believe it is the last Sunday of August already? Yep, and with us, Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They do a phenomenal job of getting your loan closed, as well as other legal items, and we appreciate them for being part of our show. You can reach Cora and the team at 895-9900. Also here, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service. They also have a team, and they come in as a team to do the work, and he also owns Team Bug Out. A lot of teams in there.
It's a team theme today.
It really is. That and scams. Well, we got both things going today.
Wait, those are two separate topics.
Two separate items, right. You can reach Brad and the home team and also Team Bug Out at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future or buying a home, I'd love to help you. Got a team of some 10 agents, 10 of them, and then you can reach me to help you sell your home. It's me. I come out, we talk, no obligation, no fee. Just talk about what the process is. And if you decide you want to move forward, then we move forward. You can reach me on my cell phone. And by the way, no home too big, no home too small. I work in Louisville, surrounding counties, southern Indiana as well. My direct cell, 376-5483. That's 376-LIVE, or go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, and hit submit. And for a free analysis of what your home is worth via AI, we're talking a lot about AI these days, you can go to WeSellLouisville.com and click on the top of the page. Okay. The questions are coming in, and we've got a theme going, and you'll see that pretty readily here. So, Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank, Lizzie received an old-fashioned letter in the mail from a company claiming that a lien may be placed on her home unless she acts now. Now, Lizzie writes in this email that she's 85 years old, and thank you for listening, by the way, and even using a computer at 85. That's great. And she's scared because she's on a fixed income. She also says she hasn't bought anything, so she's not sure where and how a lien would be placed on her house. But then she goes in, she says the company, in the letter, it says that for a fee they can protect her and monitor if liens were going to be placed on her home. And she's wondering, is this a scam? In short, Cora, yes?
I believe it is a solicitation for business services, absolutely. And I think you have to be cautious whenever you look at anything like that you may get in the mail. So oftentimes, whether it be searching the public records or other ways that these service providers or even fraudsters, to use a stronger word in certain circumstances, could find out who the owners of properties are and get their addresses and may send out, large bulk mailings. But when you look at that, if you look closely, a lot of times you'll see in some fine print, it is actually a solicitation, such as the one that's been out for years, is pay for a copy of your deed. We always tell our purchasers, when they purchase at closing, watch out for that. That's a very common one. You do not have to pay for a copy of your deed.
We've got that coming, by the way.
Spoiler alert. But in this instance, they kind of the hook is, hey, there could be a lien filed on your property, but by the way, we can protect you for a fee, and here's our service. So you can see how they try to lure you in, they hook you, and then they reel it in by saying, but if you pay us, we'll protect you. And that's kind of, I think where the money is it scares people into thinking, well, maybe I need to pay for this to avoid that part. And so if there were any listener out there that receives any type of what may be a solicitation or other more serious types of paperwork, certainly feel free to reach out to us to review that or get with a trusted professional that can take a look, maybe even do a little bit of research to see exactly what it is that is going on. Oftentimes we'll see those via electronic communications instead. You'll see, the calls and the text messages, whether it be unpaid tolls or they have a warrant out for your arrest. And so those are very common in Kentucky, but they can come in paper mailings too. So beware.
Okay, we move on. Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service. You may remember recently we had some heavy rainstorms, and in one case, one of those storms did some damage to Taylor's roof. And in this email, Taylor says, several of the homes in his neighborhood had their roofs damaged, and a couple of days ago, a roofing company came through his neighborhood and offered to review and submit a claim to his insurance company, which would hopefully pay for a new roof. And Cora, feel free to jump in, but let's go to Brad first. Taylor wants to know if he should hire this company, and what were your thoughts on that? It does sound like it may not be a scam, but certainly who knows who they are, right?
Yeah, so storm chasers, right? They know where the hail hits and they show up. So if, the Goshen, Prospect, Sellersburg, Indiana, and these areas have been overwhelmed with these storm chasers. I'm always going to be a fan of second opinions. I'm never going to sign up with anybody who's knocking on my door with their free evaluation and suddenly they're moving into strong arm tactics. Now, I've got the benefit of having an extensive network of tradespeople, so I've got lots of roofers that I can talk to, and so I'm probably not going to be, the guy that one of those storm chasers are going to be lucky with, but I've heard plenty of stories about what happens. So my advice for anybody, look, if somebody knocks on your door, just remember that it's unsolicited, and you didn't call them. You don't know them. So before you do anything with them, before you sign any paperwork, before you give any credit card number, before you give any insurance information, first of all, talk to your insurance provider. That's probably a good place to start. And get a second opinion. Get a second opinion. Do not take one opinion. And that goes for anything you're doing in your home, whether it's, a major repair, whether it's restoration service. Get a second opinion. There are too many people out there preying on folks that the salesman will tell them, oh, you're going to die. It's amazing that you've woken up, because this water heater that's 3 years old, it's all rusted out inside and it could have killed you. Okay. If you're hearing things like that, first of all, really talk to someone who's trusted, not necessarily someone who's coming out to sell you something, but get a second opinion, no matter what type of repair you're doing. It may turn out that's, that person knocking on your door is a legitimate local business owner, out marketing services. I mean, a lot of my roofer friends do that. They know the neighborhoods that have been hit. They're legit. But, still, I'm going to recommend that you talk to someone else, get that second opinion before you sign anything.
And Bob, I think too, what he said, just to piggyback on it, is independently verify. So don't just go off the materials they gave you or the fact that they're in the neighborhood, irrespective of whether they're doing housework already in the neighborhood. But do a little bit of research online. Local, I think, is always best. And also the longevity of the business. If they've been around for 20, 30 plus years, I think that gives a better sense of security than kind of a fly-by-night or, one that's located out of town that, God forbid, it not be done properly. It's a little bit more difficult to communicate with. So I think that's important to independently verify.
Yep.
More scam questions coming up in a little bit, but we're going to take a sidestep and tell you that if you want to hear more of our show, because there's a lot of information that we're imparting on a regular basis, go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com. Also, if you want to see what the sellers are saying about us at the closing table or right about at the closing table, I just uploaded a couple of new interviews this week. LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. LouisvilleSellersTalk.com. And there are videos there that you can review. All right, Cora Henderson over at Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. Michael writes in, he says, my agent sent me an offer on a home from an agent in town, another agent in town. When I looked at the name of the person trying to buy the house, according to Michael, I asked my agent if I could turn the offer down. He says he doesn't want to sell his home to this person.
So without knowing too many facts, let me just kind of generally opine on that. Yeah. And I think, if this is a situation where like, oh, that's Billy, and Billy and I, we got in a big old fight back in high school, and I don't want to deal with Billy ever again. Maybe it's just a soured friendship or relationship or whatever that looks like. Certainly, you don't have to sell your house to anybody who offers to you. I mean, your real estate agent will tell you that. You can market your property, you can list your property, but you don't have to accept those offers. Now, that said, we also want to comply with all federal and state laws and regulations. And so particularly as it relates to fair housing, and I'm not even sure this is the particular fact pattern, but there have been allegations and other fact patterns whereby individuals that are looking at the names of the parties, the printed names of the parties, sometimes with the signature, it's hard to tell, but the printed names of the parties on a contract could give rise to fair housing. So you always want to make sure that you're following the law, you have your best practices. We do not want to discriminate against those protected classes by any means, nor do the real estate agents want to participate in that. They will tell you when you sign their paperwork, their stance on fair housing and how important it is to them. So I would caution you to make sure that you're following the letter of the law when you do that. And without understanding the fact pattern, we don't know what type of intentions there are per se. So hopefully I've generally kind of danced around and answered a little bit of those different fact patterns.
No, you did well. And I should tell you, as a policy, I don't even look when I receive a contract for my sellers. I don't look at the name of the buyer. I look at the name of the agent. So if I know the agent, I know how to communicate with that particular agent. But
it's price and terms. It's all
that matters.
And for those of you who are like, well, why do you even have the printed name? Well, unfortunately, we have to have the printed name because many of our signatures, you can't even read it these days. But we have to have the printed name of the parties, particularly as it relates to title and closing on my side, I will say, because we have to run those name searches, the names of the parties for personal liens that could attach to the property. So it is important to have that in a real estate contract. Just like anything else, we can't prevent bad actors. And we hope that people are going to follow the law, going to do the right thing and act on the up and up.
Absolutely. If you're thinking of selling your home, we have a free, no obligation booklet that has hundreds of useful tips. If you'd like a copy, no problem. Send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com. Put selling tips in the subject line, and I'll send it out to you free of charge. And on that same note, if you're getting ready to sell your home and you're concerned about a home inspection, our friends at Home Team Inspection Service have a free report also on what to expect during an inspection. For that one, send me an email, bob@WeSellLouisville.com, with the word inspection in the subject line, and I'll send you out that booklet immediately. Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection Service, in this email we received, Haley heard us talk about not using hot water to unclog a drain on the past show. Do you remember us talking about that? Yeah, we've done a couple of times.
Well, we were talking about like boiling water.
Boiling water, right.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
She recently read there are alternatives to boiling water, or Drano, because that could be harsh.
It can be.
And wondered what our assessment of the following will be. So give me a one line on this. I'll give you what the alternatives are. Yeah.
Are we staying on the scam theme now, Bob?
No. This could be. Okay. It could be. These are things that.
Okay.
So just evaluate these on the fly for us. Okay. Baking soda and vinegar.
Vinegar makes lots of bubbles. It does nothing.
Salt and baking soda.
Salt and baking soda is great if you're trying to remove a stain on a countertop or a porcelain surface. Can't imagine that's going to open a clogged drain at all.
Dish soap and hot water.
I don't think, even if it's a heavy degreasing soap, I don't think it's going to remove a clog.
Wire hanger or drain snake.
Love them. Just be careful with them. There's a nylon one that's fantastic. It's got a whole bunch of little teeth on it.
Yeah.
It's about 18 inches long. You can get them for about $4 at the big hardware stores. They are awesome for removing those hair clogs out of like a tub, a shower drain. Those are really good, but probably not work in a kitchen.
Plunger, and give your advice on how to use a plunger.
All right, so plunger's not. It's if you have two drains in a kitchen sink, say, the plunger's not going to work unless you can completely stop her up the other side of it. Okay, and I am a fan of the pull method, not the push method. So if you're trying to unclog a toilet, you push it down gently, and then you pull it with fervor. And it's that pulling it back that allows it to open up. If you just keep pushing down, harder and harder, you're just trying to, you're just making the clog tighter and tighter.
All right, quick on these wet, dry vacuums.
Yeah, they maybe if you can seal it up.
Biological enzyme cleaners.
They take forever, but they will work. That's more of a maintenance product, not I got a clog product.
And finally, remove and clean the P-trap.
Yeah, sure. Always going to work. You'll be amazed what you find in those. Just know that they're going to be really gross.
Make sure you can put it back together again.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brad, those nylon ones that you were talking about that are good for hair that gets clogged in the drains and everything. Is that like an Amazon buy, or do you have to go to
probably. Yeah. Just look up, drain, hair clog remover, and you'll see them. But
I'm asking for a friend, because clearly I do not have thick hair.
Clearly.
They're like $5 or $6, so.
We're going to take a break. Coming back, 11 things you never do during bad weather or hurricane when we continue Cora Henderson will stay with us. Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC, 895-9900. Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service, a very successful Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out, 844-411-TEAM. And to reach me, if you're thinking about selling your home, no home too big or small, I work all of Louisville, surrounding areas, southern Indiana, give me a call, 376-5483 or 376-LIVE. Back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, Louisville Real Estate Show. Thanks for staying with us. And thank you, Barbara Corcoran, for being a mentor and a friend. Continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. They come in as a team. They do the job, get the house inspected, and it doesn't matter if it's new construction or resale, they get it done. 844-411-TEAM for Home Team or Team Bug Out. Also continuing with us, Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank Attorneys, LLC. They get the job done when it comes to closing the loan. They dot the I's, cross the T's, and they make it very pleasant. You can reach Cora and her team at 895-9900. And if you're thinking of selling your home now or in the future, I'd love to help you. No home too big, no home too small. And I work all throughout this area. All you need to do is give me a call anytime, day or night. 376-5483. 376-LIVE is the other way to get to me, 376-LIVE. Or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form, click submit. We're getting into that hurricane, harsh weather. We want to be prepared. So there are things you should never do during a hurricane or harsh weather. Ignore evacuation orders or the weather station. If you can get a weather radio, that's even better. But with our phones these days, there are apps that will alert you in the event of problems. You never want to go outside during a storm. You never want to drive through flooded roads. You don't want to rely solely on candles because they can be problematic starting a fire. So make sure you have not only flashlights, but even power bricks these days to recharge your lights and or phone, which has hopefully a light on it. Never leave windows open or taped. Never want to use generators indoors. You never want to neglect pet safety. You also never want to underestimate storm surge that could come if you're near the river. And don't wait until the last minute to prepare for storms. You should have an emergency supply on hand right now just in case something ever happens so you can survive and prosper. Those are some of the things you should never do during bad weather or a hurricane. We move forward now to Cora Henderson, Pitt and Frank, LLC. Connie sent us an interesting question about the deed to her house. She writes in this email, I was watching, she says, one of the cable channels this past weekend, and a commercial came on advertising what she thought was a scary message. It was something like, criminals can forge your signature, steal your home deed, and take out loans in your name without you knowing. So Connie writes, she says, please tell me this is not true. Why are these companies allowed to advertise that if it's not true? What are the other scams that are advertised on TV planning to deal with real estate? Well, we'll talk about those on this show. So go ahead, Cora. Connie, what would you say to her?
Oh, Connie, I wish it weren't true, but it is.
Really?
In fact, that has been prevalent for the last number of years nationwide. And certainly here in our area, I have seen it way more than once. And so there are several products and service offerings that will allow the monitoring of the title to your home. So in other words, they're watching the land records to make sure nobody being a fraudster, fraudulently forge, probably going to be a quitclaim deed, but let's just say a deed transfer, whereby, whether they produce some sort of invalid type of identification and was properly notarized, or maybe sometimes not only do they fraudulently sign your name and sign the property over to themselves, but also there will be a fraudulent notary, won't even be a real notary and or attorney that could have prepared that deed. So it can look a number of different ways, but ultimately when it gets recorded, if it matches all the required criteria for that deed in that recording, nobody necessarily knows the difference at that point in time. So the concern is that if a fraudulent deed changes the ownership and it's made of record, you can't unrecord it. Now, you can record an affidavit that was fraudulent, and certainly that, amongst other things, that you would have to act quickly to restore the title to the property if that were to happen to you. But if you're asking what's in it for the fraudster, they can't just steal your house or, it looks like they stole your title. What's in it for them is because after they put their name on the title by this fraudulent deed transfer, they will go to an unsuspecting lender, one that probably doesn't ask a lot of questions, minimum paperwork, and they will try to pull out the equity in the form of a cash out refinance for the property to try and get the money. So they're always in it for some sort of monetary gain, and that would be that monetary gain. And then the homeowner is served with foreclosure paperwork because, shocker alert, those mortgage payments were never made. And then that's whenever you find out, or the tax bills start going to a different address. You're kind of alerted then, like, wait a minute, what do you mean it's going up to Michigan? And then you look at the land records and see that somebody forged a fraudulent deed. So there are services that can alert you if someone were to do that. But to my knowledge, the best coverage is going to be what's called an enhanced homeowner's title insurance policy. And the reason why I say that is because they came out with this policy, they being our national title insurance providers, came out with this policy a couple years ago. And that was the first time that they ever had post-closing fraud coverage. So if that were to happen to you, if you were going to be a victim of title fraud, just like, you have victims of identity fraud, right? This coverage, if you have it with the title insurance, they send their attorneys to restore your title free of charge. So keep in mind,
does everybody have that? Does everyone have it?
They do not. You have to have this particular policy, and unfortunately, it's newer because it's a newer scam as far as the title fraud. And so, if you closed on your house back in 2010, this wasn't available at that point in time. So you can still get it now, though. You can call my office or call your trusted legal professional in real estate to be able to talk through that process. But that's the only product I'm aware of that will actually pay to restore your title. The other ones are just alerts. And unfortunately, if you're a victim, just like of identity fraud, you could have to pay to restore the title, right, wrong, or different, even though you're a victim.
Oh, this is scary. This really is scary.
Very much so.
All right. We're going to move on. And a reminder, if you'd like to see what buyers and sellers are saying about us, our Sokoler team, go to LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. So, Brad Lawler, Home Team Inspection. This next question actually comes from me. My wife, LaDonna, and I discovered a wasp's nest outside our house. We called, actually, Home Team, the team bug out, and they took care of it for us. Yeah. But I did some research, and there are apparently other ways to get rid of wasps and hornets' nests. So we're wondering, do you have any suggestions? I know there's stuff like something called Taro Reusable, and then Boston Fly Trap, and some other for wasps and hornets. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so there are a lot of do-it-yourself products that are out there that are available. Many of them are very messy. They work. I'm just gonna say, Raid, Combat. Those products work. But a couple things you need to understand about the product you're using is they're all very oily. They are oil-based. Most of those wasp and hornet sprays are oil-based, so they make a mess. The other thing is that you have to treat for those wasps early in the morning or in the early evening while all of the wasps are home. Now, if you treat them and you kill the nest off, the wasps are going to return. The ones that have been out foraging are going to come back. And if it's not, they're not probably going to set up right there in the raid, but they're just going to start rebuilding the home there. So you have to be able to have some sort of residual insecticide on it to really get rid of it. But yeah, it's not just spray it. You have to remove the nest. And that's often the tricky part, because we can kill the wasps or hornets in it, but you have to remove the nest, because if you don't, they're just going to go ahead and keep coming. It's not like them to move somewhere else. I mean, we removed 7 wasp nests off a commercial structure last week, and we came back later in the afternoon, and we treated it again because a lot of the wasps had come back to those spots. So we just treated those wasps. So oftentimes it's that multiple step process in it as well. But be careful, particularly if it's up high, if it's around any power lines, the masthead. One of my Home Team inspectors opened up an electrical panel on Wednesday this past week, and there were 4 wasp nests actually inside, that outdoor panel. So right now they're everywhere. They're going to be a problem into probably late October. So just be careful, about opening things up, because you may have wasps or hornets waiting for you to step in.
All right, we have time for one final quick question, and we go back to the scam theme. Pitt and Frank attorneys Cora Henderson, Claire, in this email, just recently purchased a home and is waiting for the deed to come in the mail. She did get a notice from a company offering to send her a copy of the deed for about $95. She's wondering, is it worth it to buy it through this company? Okay, Cora, take it away.
Absolutely not. Do not fall for that. That is definitely a solicitation. You may even get a very similar solicitation for newly formed business entities saying that you need a copy of your articles of organization or something. So just be aware of that as well. But listen, Jefferson County, their land records are free online. You can Google search and look that up. So right now, if you close, a copy of your deed is available free online, particularly in that county. But moreover, if you're not in that county, if you're somewhere else, your title company will have that. You should have received a copy at closing, and you should, as a buyer, receive the original deed after recording for safekeeping. So try all those avenues first.
How long should she wait?
Sure. So many of the counties we e-record. And so just a couple weeks after closing, I think, is a natural time frame to have received that in the mail, hopefully with your final owner's title insurance policy. It may be bundled together with a letter, from your title company. But listen, don't hesitate to reach out to the closing attorney where you closed and ask for it. They have it in their file. That's what we do, and we'd be delighted to assist you.
And if the closing attorney happens to have been Pitt and Frank Attorneys LLC and Cora Henderson, here's the number to call, whether it's to find out about your deed or to set up a closing, because you can pick the closing attorney you want. 895-9900. Also, thanking Brad Lawler with Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out for being on the show. You can reach Brad. He's the #1 Home Team Inspection Service now 10 years in a row. 844-411-TEAM is his direct number. Thank you, folks. Also, if you're thinking of selling, I'd love to help you. No home too big or too small. I work in Louisville, surrounding counties, southern Indiana. You can reach me on my cell phone. It's a free, no obligation talk, and I'll come out and we will review to your heart's content. 376-5483 is my direct cell phone number, or you can go to bobsellslouisville.com, fill out the form, hit submit, and for a free, no obligation estimate of what your home is worth, we use some pretty advanced AI technology. You can go to wesellouisville.com and click on the top of the page, whether it's on a computer or on your phone. That's it. We're out of time. See you in September on News Radio 840 WHAS.